VIVIAN Chang is a catalyst of change.
As someone who grew up and was trained in the craft of organizing and power building, and that is explicitly what we fund, I believe so deeply in that. The structural change that we are looking for will not happen unless there is a powerful base of people who are closest to the pain leading that effort.
VIVIAN worked to build that people power as an organizer and as the executive director of the Asian Pacific Environmental Network before moving into philanthropy as the vice president of the East Bay Community Foundation, where her grant-making addressed structural barriers to racial equity. In 2018, she took on a new challenge as the founding executive director of the Susan Sandler Fund, which launched publicly amid the racial justice reckoning of 2020.
How are we going to make change at the scale that it needs to be made?
That's the question that animated Susan Sandler's life and vision for her philanthropy. It's the question that shapes her legacy and the distinctive mark she made on the world, a world she left far too soon. Before her death last December, Susan, her husband Steve Phillips, and VIVIAN co-created one of the most consequential and important racial justice philanthropies in our country. Building on her lifetime of philanthropy, Susan entrusted and empowered VIVIAN to build what would become her legacy.
And the reality is the work of building power is about developing the muscle of democracy and collective democracy.
Through the Susan Sandler Fund, VIVIAN invests $10 million each year in racial justice organizations that are winning tangible change with and for people of color. Groups like Texas Organizing Project and Florida Rising Together. Her grant-making strategy builds people power, breaking away from philanthropy's usual approach of persuasion.
If we believe the fight for liberation is a long-term arc, then we need to be committed to funding durable power, which requires durable institutions and durable funding. And so my call to action is for all of us, what would it take to create durability within your funding institution?
VIVIAN also carries on Susan's legacy within Community Change Action, serving on the board that Susan chaired for years. For combating the structures of racism and white supremacy that permeate philanthropy, for directly investing in leaders of color and their institutions, and for co-creating and continuing the movement legacy of Susan Sandler as the founding executive director of the Susan Sandler Fund. Community Change is proud to honor VIVIAN Chang as our 2023 Champion in Philanthropic Leadership and Racial and Gender Justice.